Malik, welcome to Free Your Voice.
Thank you. I feel welcome. Appreciate it.
Fame.
Mm-hmm.
What's the cost?
I think fame is the most expensive of drugs because we understand addiction as something that declines your quality of life. Things that you enjoy so immensely that make a declination in life quality. That's how we quantify addiction. Drink, use drugs, have sex, whatever, gamble, all those things in moderation. But the addiction is the overconsumption, the overuse, and your life slowly. I mean, I'm sure you could be addicted to kale and it would decline, but you would decline over time. The fall off is not as steep. But with certain drugs, the fall off is steep. Fame forces you to use a lot of the negative parts of the human. Greed, animosity, self-interest. It forces you to use that to get more. So you have to allow it to be fleeting. You have to allow it to flee from you. You have to experience that moment. You have to experience that time. And then you have to let it go.
So you're saying that too many of these artists, that they're holding on to something that was never going to be forever.
Yeah.
You must drive them insane.
Of course.
Literal insanity.
Chasing anything without ever finding it will drive you insane. It'll create the wrong chemicals, right? And it'll cost your organs. The organs will keep trying to replicate. So I'll give you an example. With racing dogs, they have to every now and then let them catch the rabbit. Every now and then, or else they'll go insane. Meaning that the chemicals will start to malfunction, the proper functionality of the brain. Obviously, there's a lot of devastation in our world, even especially right now. So there's two types of dogs employed in law enforcement. One that we know and we revel in is the rescue dog, Rin Tin Tin, Lassie. Timmy fell down the well, boy, to Lassie, a female dog, Lassie, and not lad. But we know those rescue dogs and we love them. There's another dog that is differently tempered. The temperament is different. They're made a little differently. So they choose those dogs for a certain task. Those are cadaver dogs. They look for dead bodies so that they won't rot and cause further disease in rubble. Right? So cadaver dogs, they go about their job mundane. They're not very excitable. They find the dead bodies. People pull the dead, mortuaries pull the dead bodies out of the rubble, keep the gases in from escaping and, making a mess. They get them as fast as they can, but they can smell when a person is dead. Rescue dogs look for live bodies, but in some instances, there aren't live bodies. So they become heavily depressed because what they're chasing is different. They're chasing the chance for livelihood or for aliveness. So every now and then, they plant a live body the night before in the rubble, one of the workers that they aren't familiar with the scent, and they find them and they perk back up. All creatures work like this. We have to find our purpose. If your purpose is art and you get fame from it, if your purpose is politics and you get fame from it, your purpose is building something, you get fame from it, cool. But if you're chasing fame, fame is fleeting. There's no embodiment of fame. There's no personage of it. It's a spirit.
But people see these individuals, these artists, many of them you've worked with, and they perceive them as having everything. And the optics, they look at these social media pictures, the best of them. They're smiling, they're getting out of a Bentley. That's far from reality.
Yeah, that's a moment. That's an instant. That's created. It might be captured organically, but it's still created. It doesn't accidentally happen. A Bentley doesn't accidentally show up at your house. You buy a Bentley for the intent of impressing other people, which is also human. We're social animals. We're built on social structure, political alignment. So you don't accidentally have a Bentley. You don't accidentally pick the color. It comes to your place where you want it to be purposefully to impress others, to gain social status. So the art is the most attractive thing because it is the most foreboding. The hardest thing to do is become a famous artist, a chart-topping artist. I think there's 700 NASA astronauts. There's not 700 famous musicians that exist right now. No. Maybe 100. I could name 50 maybe right now. Such a small group. But we also live in a world of extended fame or extended popularity where Mick Jagger is still famous from before I was born. He's still famous.
Isn't that amazing to think about, that you have these individuals, Mick Jagger, Michael Jackson, Billy Idol, Gene Simmons. They continue. Their brands continue. So how do you create a sustainable brand when we by nature have self-sabotaging behaviors? Is it sustainable?
Well, it's weird because humans, we have neophilia. We love the word new. We love the feeling of new, which is why advertisers use psychiatrists and psychologists to help them in advertising. The new Audi. Oh, much better than the one I have in the driveway that I got last year. It's the new one. Some people have neophobia, fear of something new, but the fear of something new is more of an electrical thing. It's the fear of new energy, not of new product. We're not as weary of new product as we are of product that we've already grown up with. You wouldn't use the refrigerator that you grew up with right now. There's no possible way.
No.
Even though it kept food perfectly cold. Replace the motor, it runs forever. But you are afraid of a new person coming to your house. That's the phobia. That's the neophobia part. I don't know this person. So we are stuck in this dichotomous battle with ourselves of what's familiar and nostalgic and what's new. So
Fear.
Exactly.
Fear.
Thank you.
So how do you do that as an artist?
Thank you.
Because
You got
you
it
have,
right there. You just hit it.
you have not one, but a lot of Grammys. That it requires you to not have fear.
Exactly.
That it requires you to speak up when it's hard. When others are fearful, you come forward. So talk about freedom of speech. Is it under attack?
Of course.
And what happens if my feelings get hurt in the process when you're trying to share what's in your head?
That's the attraction though, right? The attraction is the person that's the risk taker. That's saying, I don't need other people so much so that I'm willing to piss everybody off and offend everybody. We attract to that person because they don't want to take resource from us. That's why we love that person. They don't need us. Obviously, they wouldn't be talking like this. But that seems to be like
Kanye. Like the mindset is, I'm going this way. With or without you, I'm going. And yet we gravitate to want to go with that person. When they're going, look, I don't need you. I'm coming. This is my direction.
Kanye obviously is my companion, my brother. Kanye and I are not friends.
Interesting.
He would never choose to spend time with me outside of the work that we create, nor would I with him. We are divergently different humans, which what distills this music.
But that's the exchange of interest.
Exactly.
That friendships are an exchange of interest. Business is an exchange of interest. And you both have come to that place where many other artists that you've worked with is that it's an exchange of interest. Now, why is it that they see excellence in you?
Kanye calls it the laser. I'm atrociously attracted to the detail orientation because of my neurodivergency. And I'm feeling my way through it. I'm sensing my way through it. And my neurosensitivity allows me to just a little bit adjust syllabically one phrase. Emphasis here as opposed to there. And it hits the human chord a certain kind of way. So working with Beyonce is not because I'm the best songwriter she's ever worked with. No, it's because the nuances are so important to me because that's how I navigate through my life with an abusive mother. I had to understand the very small and fine details of her micro expressions and microaggressions. I had to be super sensitized to it to save my physical self. I had to know when she's seeking, or she's hunting me, when she's waiting for me to mess up there so she can justify her explosion on me from an abusive standpoint. So I had to know when to get scarce, how to get scarce, which way to go, what colors to wear that day. It was very important.
So you had to wake up each day
Mm-hmm.
and you had to check the temperature.
Good. Yeah, very good analogy. Had
That's
to check
a
the
lot for a
temperature.
young child.
Yeah. At 4 or 5 years old?
Is it going to be Jekyll? Is it going to be Hyde?
Mm-hmm.
Which one am I getting?
Exactly.
So was she bipolar?
No, we've tried everything because she was only like that with me.
Only with you?
Yeah. And extra loving about my other siblings. So, of course, it made it worse. Because I was the singularly oppressed group.
She singled you out?
Yeah.
You're different?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure it was probably embarrassing to her as a, I think, 18-year-old mother, you know, having a kid that's a little off, you know.
Well, what was that? Define off.
Neurodivergency, man. Autism, you know, which made me clumsy and my spatial awareness was not there. I was clumsy. I was, you know, confused, befuddled by my father's relationship with her. You know, the nurturing from my grandmother, which I longed for and loved. And, you know, I represented a change in her life when she got pregnant with me and you know, it was the end of her.
Freedom.
Yeah, I had an older brother who
You represent
her
that.
grandmother would watch, but now I came along. So it was the end of her, her freedom. And she was pretty, and everyone knew she was pretty, and everyone lauded over her. But I represented a physical change, a spiritual change, an economic change, a social change.
She
And
didn't know how to connect with you.
And had no desire to.
She had this expectation that a young child should figure out a way to connect with her.
I don't think she wanted me to connect with her. I think she wanted me to disappear. And I wouldn't, because that's not how humans work. That's not how carbon-based entities work.
So you'd always come back for a hug.
Always. And desire.
Always to be good with her. Mom, I want us good.
Exactly.
Mom,
and
mom,
always
mom. I want us good, whatever you
writing
want.
letters, right? That's why I'm so good at poetry. I was writing messages to her with my limited intelligence at the time, my brain function.
But who was she angry with?
I think she was angry with herself for choosing my dad, who was not I don't think he was the kind of man that she wanted or needed. My father's a very pragmatic person, very structured. I don't think he lauded upon her the way she was used to being lauded upon. And I think that he didn't have that ability because of his disconnection with his mom. So he couldn't tell her how pretty she was, which she needed that reinforcement. And I don't think he was capable of such. And he was focused on business and growing the family and getting money and working. And
as a businessman yourself, you know heavy is the head that wears that crown.
No question. That's why I'm always vacillating about how to comport myself as my father's son. Him being the unprotective parent, him not noticing that his progeny, his heir, was under attack by...
He allowed it, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Ignored it maybe,
ignored
hoped it wasn't true.
How did she speak to him?
She was terrible with him. She was disrespectful.
Did he ever stand up, or was he one of these that just wanted to keep peace?
I think he wanted to keep... They would argue, but he wasn't...
Did he always back down?
Yeah.
She had the louder voice.
Yeah. She had more power, more foundational power. I think he just chose the easy way, which was my brother, who was his namesake, my younger brother. So he just chose to kind of focus on him and build him. I kind of think he looked at me as a lost cause. He was young too when he had me. He was 20. He
was a baby.
Had no idea what to do.
Had no idea.
Especially with a kid that's, you know, what at the time you would call had mental retardation. I literally stuttered, couldn't, my handwriting, they call it chicken scratch. My dad, you know, when in his unknowingness, his ignorance of child rearing, he would call me slow-mo. And it crushed me every time. My name is Malik. Some people call me Malik, so he would call me slow-mo. Get it together, slow-mo, and it would crush me. But I learned to not let him see the crush, but I wanted him to feel it.
But as an adult today, as you look around,
yeah.
and you're making me cry because I have a 13-year-old son and I have a 10-year-old daughter, that every single day there are children that are going through this. And you're the one now that is creating the music, the words, the poetry that they're hearing, that are in their schools.
Yes, I'm aware.
That's you.
Yeah, I'm aware. And that's why I try to put the messages and the melodies in there for healing modalities.
Healing.
Yeah, with the same time entertaining, putting the spinach in the pizza, so to speak. You know?
You got to bring them back up and let them have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, let them have fun. Nobody wants to be preached to. Nobody wants to be handled. Nobody wants to be managed.
When did you become a man? When did you finally reach that stage? You're like, you know what? I see it different now. And was it an aha moment? Was it a come to Jesus moment, as they say?
I don't think that in that journey, a person like me has a eureka moment. I think it's that's interesting. How'd that propagate? What's that feeling? More investigation as opposed to prospecting.
You're curious.
Yeah. Like, what did that feel like? Why did I do that? What does this mean if I say this? This makes me feel good, makes other people feel bad. Let me try to curtail said behavior.
How about relationships with you? What have they been like? Are you the one that is just, you overlook? You willing to accept more?
I think so. I think I am notoriously pre-disastered to see the best in people.
An optimist. Call it naive. But is that so bad?
It is. It depends on who and where, right? It's like cocaine has vitamin A in it, but you don't want to spend a lot of time using cocaine to get vitamin A. And that's kind of what I've been for a long time. There's good in that person, and it's this much good, and I have to go through this much dirt, so I'm expending too much energy. And I learned that because I was abandoned. I was given away, and I was a throwaway child. And I've learned as an environmentalist that you can't throw anything away. You can only throw it away from you. So all of our systems in America work in this throwaway mind state. This person is bad, throw them in prison. It just becomes somebody else's problem.
It does. And it seems that sort of, let's say it, trauma, pain, that it reverberates through the generations.
It does, man.
I mean, I came from a broken home. My mother left the family when I was 18 months. The heart wants what the heart wants.
18 months.
I was 18 months.
You were barely walking.
And then my dad, when I was 4.5, he got sentenced, and he ended up spending 17 years in prison. So I had nobody. I went into the foster care system in California, Casa de Amparo, House of Refuge.
Oh, I know.
That was my home as a baby. Wow. And it's interesting because I've learned that that's my fuel.
Yes.
That's my fuel. Pain is fuel. It is. Because if you don't use it as your fuel, it will put you in the grave.
It will.
It will make you a zombie.
Well, I tried to get to the grave a bunch. I used everything you could besides caffeine and nicotine to get to the grave. Everything you could be addicted to, I was addicted to. And also, people were addicted to my addiction. I didn't realize that. They were addicted to, oh, here comes Malik. He's going to get drunk, and then he's going to do everything wild. He's going to take those 2 girls, and, oh, Malik's going to. They were addicted to my antics. And I didn't realize that I was also having some refill from that, from them loving me, loving my mistakes, loving me narrowly escaping death. You know, drunk driving, thank Most High God I never hurt anybody while I was driving drunk, except for a bunch of automobiles.
This is the part that they don't see.
Yeah.
They see the main attraction. They see the show.
Yes.
But underneath that, there's you. So you still have these moments as you reflect and you look back and you go, I got really lucky. I got really lucky. That could have been my time. That could have been my day.
I can't even explain. I mean, like, I woke up one day at my father's house in his bedroom. He was no longer living there. And I was like, where am I at? Like, I'm at my childhood home. My mother had left my dad at the time. The bed was perfectly made, immaculate. My dad's a very tidy guy. And I was like, where am I at? I was like, how did I get here? I looked outside and I saw my Cadillac outside and parked perfectly. I was like, there's no way this happened. Who drove me home?
Cadillac guy, huh?
At the time I was.
What do you drive now?
I'm a Mercedes guy now. Going to Europe just sold me a Mercedes. It's the cab.
That's what I drive. That's a good car.
It's a cab,
That's
you
a
know.
good car.
And it's reliable. You have to pay for it 4 times over his lifetime, but it's reliable.
Sounds like you're a creature of comfort.
I am.
Something earns your trust.
Yeah,
It's earned your trust.
no question.
It's earned your respect. So what are you working on today?
Well, you know, my environmental movement is picking up. Me as kind of one of the leading environmentalists, me, Megan Thee Stallion, a couple other people in the entertainment industry who are really investigating this thing down to the corporate level. Like, who are the repeating offenders and how do they get away with it? Of trash in our environment. How do they get to poison our water, bottle it in the same thing that poisoned it and sell it back to us at a premium? Who's allowing this to happen?
So I heard a saying a couple years back, and
Yeah.
now I steal it like it's mine. And many of us are idea thieves. If consciously or subconsciously we took it from somebody else, and what the person said was that you're either at the table or you're on the menu.
Or you're on the menu.
You're on the menu.
Yep.
Sounds like we're on the menu.
Yeah. And one of my mentors in the environmental movement always says that. That's one of his famous sayings. I feel like, you know what, Dustin, I'll be honest with you, man. You know, I understand that we have a lot of conveniences in our world, but every convenience has a cost. The convenience of plastic, the readily available single-use plastics that we love, stuff packaged in is clean, we understand it, is unific, is costing our planet dearly. It's costing our planet and the inhabitants of said planet, which we are in that number. And it's at this point, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Because what's happening in our waters, if you understand in our air and our water, parts per billionth, when you talk about pollution, you talk about microplastics, you talk about tonnage of microplastics, it's staggering numbers. Because microplastics is petroleum.
It's the end of our species.
It's the end. It's the end. We are approaching the end. We are approaching.
We are killing ourselves,
exactly.
is what I'm hearing.
Exactly. Because the earth is fine. She'll be fine. The mountains will be fine. The water will
But
repair
our
itself.
species,
We won't be able.
we're under attack.
There's a small biosphere, right?
So greed
Yeah, greed.
is what's causing it.
But greed was something very good for humans. Oh, 100,000 years ago? Oh, you needed to be greedy because you didn't have the ability to affect the environment at large in that way. Your footprint was so small. Greed was very healthy. The selfish gene was very healthy. We need all these resources. We need all the trees in this general 5-mile vicinity. Now we can travel across the world in a night. And that greed, once that shit is activated, boy, it's deleterious to us holistically.
Why aren't those that have a voice, why aren't they speaking up?
Interesting. They have a voice, but the microphone gets shut off. The microphone is controlled by those very same entities that I earlier described, the aforementioned groups that control all the media because they got all the money. Not all the media, obviously but we still have to please our corporate partners in certain ways. There's certain things we cannot do in order to feed our children. Certain things we can't say out loud that we know. So we are restricted in handcuffs in a way. Golden handcuffs. I mean, I got on nice jewelry. You know, you got some money, you drive a Mercedes Benz, you know what I'm saying? You have some trappings that make life easier for you, that simplify it a bit. Poverty is complicated, not complex. It's easy to figure out poverty. But to navigate through it is complicated. And complications, if a complication happens in surgery, you probably won't come out that room. Complication is not what we want. Complexity is good. It's good for the brain. It's healthy. Complications is horrible for the brain. It burns the brain. It pains the brain, makes the brain go into survival mode. And survival mode, again, brings out the devil's cocktail, the worst part. You don't want to catch a person in survival mode. You don't want to catch a dog in survival mode. You don't want to be walking down the street in your neighborhood and seeing people, you know, even unleashed, walk their dogs, and the dog has got his tail up. He's happy. He knows he just ate or he's going to eat. He gets back into the house. But when you see that dog that's got his head down, his tail down, sniffing the ground, he's looking at you suspiciously or auspiciously, that dog's in survival mode. You don't want that dog in your community. You don't want him anywhere around your children. And this world we live in, a capitalistic society, forces people into survival mode, which makes our neighbors dangerous to us, our family members dangerous to us. People that would be, when Jesus talks about, you know, love thy neighbor as thyself, it means people that are near you. Nigh, same word, close. Neighborhood, this place, manhood, boyhood, childhood, girlhood, womanhood, parenthood, adulthood, childhood. A hood is a thing that basically is a platform and a container. Selfhood. It is a parameter around a particular thing, be it esoteric or not. So when somebody is in deficit, back to the concept of fame, somebody's in deficit, we are a little bit leery of this person. What do they want from me? What do they need from me? People that seek fame, they throw you to the wind. You're exhaustible for them. They're like, oh.
People that have it, what it took to get there.
Mm-hmm.
All those shows that, all those days, you believed in you.
When nobody else would.
And that is an affirmation. It starts with you, Malik, and you are one of these individuals who came into my life, and you have shown me that it takes courage to speak up. It takes courage to free your voice. But if you do, it's that moment where you go from surviving to thriving. Thank you for sharing your story on Free Your Voice.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man. This is a good platform, man, what you do. And your story is needed because people don't know if they can survive those circumstances. And you are the living embodiment of that survival into thrival mode. It's a narrow space. It's just so much air, so much water that you had to take in the exact amount of each for you to turn into this. So many people have failure to thrive after they have survived.
I love you, Malik. Thank you for being my brother.
Thank you, Dustin. Appreciate you, brother.
All right.